I don't know about the rest of you, but in my opinion, music is one of the most important parts of the game, equaling or even trumping graphics. Well-crafted songs stay with us forever, and in a video game, the right soundtrack can set the perfect mood, enticing you to feel a sense of adventure or whispering a quiet sense of dread to you. Good music is indispensable to a great game, and these are the top 10 game soundtracks, the crème de la crème. For each game, I'll point out 2 tracks I find particularly well made. Enjoy. Number 10, Metroid Prime. Possibly the best example of how to do atmospheric tracks right, Metroid Prime's soundtrack oozes loneliness and isolation. The music is subtle and never overshadows the gameplay, hovering right in the background to foster the drive towards exploration that the game does perfectly. Each area of the game is complemented by its own track, with none feeling out of place. Recommended tracks, Phendrana Depths and Talon Overworld 2. Number 9, The Elder Scrolls V Skyrim. Skyrim has a vast and varied soundtrack that complements the game to perfection. Soothing ambient tracks supplement the wonder that comes from wandering around and discovering the secrets hidden within Skyrim's beautiful landscape, while barbarian choirs belt out explosive and bombastic tunes that get the adrenaline pumping as you prepare to do battle with whatever larger-than-life creature dares challenge you. Altogether, Skyrim's soundtrack is a masterpiece in fostering a sense of adventure. Recommended tracks, Secunda and Tundra. Number 8, Donkey Kong Country 2, Diddy's Conquest. Proving that great things come in small packages, Donkey Kong Country 2's soundtrack runs under an hour, which can seem disappointing to those of us used to OSTs that usually last 4 to 5 hours. However, don't let that fool you. Every second is packed with emotion. The soundtrack keeps Donkey Kong's usual sense of adventurous whimsy, but also mixes in a moody, melancholy feel for an unforgettable experience. This soundtrack contains many pieces, some haunting, some dynamic, but all flawless. Recommended tracks, Mining Melancholy and Sticker Brush Symphony. Number 7, Eternal Sonata. Eternal Sonata is based around Frédéric Chopin, one of the most famous composers of all time, and as such it incorporates a classical-inspired soundtrack that takes its cues from Chopin's work. The pieces are variably tender, bombastic, quiet, intense, and subdued. Some of the best songs in the game are reimaginings of some of Chopin's own masterworks, and more than a few of his pieces appear entirely unaltered. In musical terms, it almost feels like cheating. Recommended tracks, Imprisoned Phantoms and Scrap and Build Ourselves from Revolution. Number 6, The Legend of Zelda, The Wind Waker. The Zelda series boasts some of the most famous music in the industry, and in my opinion, Wind Waker offers the best sound in the franchise. The music is grand and sweeping, as befitting a heroic journey across a vast sea. Dungeon themes are oppressive and winding, nudging the reader to get lost in the labyrinth, while the town themes are happy and invigorating. The entire score feels inspired by Celtic music, which gives the game its own feel. The remastered music in the recent Wii U remake is also excellent. Recommended tracks, Mulgera and staff credits. Number 5, Xenoblade Chronicles. This game, already known for being atypical as a JRPG, continues that reputation in its sound. The tracks are extremely varied. Each level gets its own track. Most get 2 variations, one for day and one for night, that are long and fit the level itself flawlessly. Character themes suit the people they were made for to a T, and the battle themes are nothing short of legendary. To be honest, this was the game I had the hardest time deciding only 2 tracks to pick, as I love them all so much. Recommended tracks, Gourplane and Zanza. Number 4, Final Fantasy VI. Final Fantasy VI's soundtrack deserves every ounce of stellar reputation. Interesting fact, Square gave composer Nobuo Uematsu 2 years to work on this rather than the typical one, and it shows. Every track has been worked until it shines, with many tracks that appear later in the game taking cues from earlier ones for maximum oomph. Dancing Mad lasts a whopping 10 minutes and includes musical callbacks to the entire game, and is possibly the best final boss music of all time. And let us not forget the famous opera scene too. Recommended tracks, Dancing Mad and Aria di Mezzo Carattere. Number 3, Baten Kaitos, Eternal Wings and the Lost Ocean. Don't let this game's ludicrous title fool you. Baten Kaitos offers one of the best soundtracks in video game history. Every piece is packed with emotion, and the songs themselves range from serene string pieces to violent electric guitar or wild industrial tracks. Each piece feels utterly in place, and the game uses them to utmost effect. Not a one ever feels pointless or inane. Like Xenoblade, this was another game where it was hard to limit myself to 2 picks. The selection is just that good. Recommended tracks, Soft Labyrinth and Supreme Ruler of the Nine Heavens. Number 2, Super Smash Bros. Brawl. It probably feels a bit unfair for me to include Brawl on this list, as the game's soundtrack includes remixes of some of the most iconic pieces of music to ever grace Nintendo's gallery, alongside some pieces that were ported without modification and old favorites from the previous Smash Bros. Games. It even includes a few original compositions, which are all excellent. With 258 tracks of some of the most famous music in video game history, Super Smash Bros. Brawl is a masterwork of sound and a game that dares you to disrespect its music. Anyone who loves video game music should give this soundtrack a spin. Recommended tracks, Corneria and Mute City. What could possibly top a compilation of game music legends and steal the number 1 spot? Well, number 1, Lost Odyssey. Crafted by the inimitable Nobuo Uematsu, the same man who brought us our favorite Final Fantasy tracks, Lost Odyssey's soundtrack can only be described as a magnum opus. Crafted by a master of the form who has had decades to hone his talent, Lost Odyssey's soundtrack is everything video game music aspires to be. Evocative, powerful, dynamic, and emotional. Every single song is above the pack, shining with excellence and polish, and the best of them are among the finest works of music that have ever graced video game consoles. The music gives this game its emotional core. With the care and talent that has been poured into it, I believe that Lost Odyssey offers the greatest video game soundtrack of all time. Recommended tracks, Never-Ending Journey and Dark Saint. Like, dislike, there are tons of excellent video games out there with stellar music, many of which I have probably not experienced for myself. Nonetheless, I hope you enjoyed this compilation of auditory excellence. If you have a bit of free time, you should give a few of these soundtracks a whirl. At least one is bound to be unfamiliar to you.